I want to talk about money. Those sort of things are the kind of costs that are going to get you if you're not prepared. You had kids together, so you need to fund those kids together. That's my opinion on it, and it's not going to change. Good morning, welcome to the vlog. I have taken a day off work today and I want to talk about money. I've got my little planner here. I know you're all going to want to know about this. I'll put a link in the description box. It's a papier personalized journal. I'll put it in there. But I want to talk about money today. Yeah, I need to talk about money. We need to talk about money. We don't need to talk about Bruno. We need to talk about money. So this video is going to be about how we budget our household income as a family of 4 for 2024 when we have 2 people who earn different amounts of money. Okay, we're a 2-income household. I'm back at work part-time. I also have a side business, but I don't use my business income really as part of our budget at the moment. I'll explain about that later. But we're a 2-income household and we earn different amounts of money. So my husband and I actually work for the same organisation. However, he's full-time and I'm part-time, so we would earn the same amount of money, which is weird because I don't think that happens for many people, but we would earn the same amount of money if I was full-time, but I'm not. So we earn 2 different incomes and we budget as a household, okay? This is like the big thing for me. It literally boggles my mind when I speak to people who have children or houses or are otherwise in some sort of serious committed relationship and they have completely separate finances, like completely separate. They know nothing about each other's money. It's his and mine, and we pay half of our bills and that's it, when they're earning 2 different incomes. I don't get it. It's actual insanity. So we budget as a household, and by that, what I mean is all our money goes into one pot, and from that one pot, we then allocate it out to all the different things that it's needed. There's no like his and mine. All the money goes into one pot. We are one household. We have one pot of money that deals with our household budget. Does that sound crazy to some of you? I don't know. I bet some of you are thinking like, what are you talking about? But that's how we do it. It is the only thing that makes sense to me when you have 2-income household, especially when you're earning 2 different amounts of money, especially then. When I had a baby in 2019, that is the first time that I ever thought about having a proper budget. So we planned and saved for maternity leave, and I can talk about all that in a different video, how I saved for maternity leave, how I funded 12 months maternity leave, including the 3 months unpaid. I can talk about all that in another video. Do let me know if you want to hear about that. But then I went on maternity leave. I went on maternity pay, I went on unpaid maternity leave, and it was during that time when I realised that we needed to have a budget. So we need to have set amounts that we could spend. We needed to be managing how much we were spending because we now had somebody else to feed, somebody else to put nappies on. The heating costs were going to be higher because obviously you want to keep a little baby warm in winter in your house. All those kind of things. We had to buy a tumble dryer, which we never had before. All those kind of things, all those kind of unexpected baby costs, the kinds that you don't think of. It's not about buying a pram. It's about things like how much more energy you use, how much more water you use. Those sort of things are the kind of costs that are going to get you if you're not prepared for them. So we started to budget after I went on maternity leave so that we could basically manage our money and make sure we didn't run out of money on maternity leave. We could pay our bills and all that sort of thing. And that is pretty much where this story starts. So here's our financial situation before we start the 2024 budget, because you have to know where you are to start making a plan for the future, right? So we have an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is basically an amount of money that you have for short-term emergency planning, basically. So if one of you got sick and couldn't work, if you crashed your car and you need to buy a new one, there's literally like an emergency. I'm talking emergencies. I don't mean emergency nail polish, you know, like I mean an actual emergency. So we have an amount of money for that. There's a lot of different opinions about how much money you need for your emergency fund. Some people say £1,000. I personally think that is way too low, especially when you've got kids and a mortgage. I think that is way too low. So we have the amount of money that we're comfortable with for our emergency fund. So we've got that sorted. I would like to possibly add a little bit more to it, but we've got that. We've previously made some investments and we've been overpaying our mortgage. However, all that had to come to a grinding halt when I went on to statutory maternity pay and unpaid leave in 2023. I'm now back at work, so I'm now finally getting my sort of new part-time full wage, if you like, and we can start to budget based on that and based on where we currently are. I had a look through our finances from last year and basically tried to figure out what was working and what wasn't working. What you've got to take into account is how much change goes on, both in the world and in your own little world, in your own life. So obviously we had a baby, so that's completely changed our finances. We have completely new childcare costs. We've got different costs for my daughter who's now in school. She's never been in school before. This is her first year in school, so we're navigating all that. And then there was COVID, which completely changed the way we spend and live. And now we're into that post-COVID period. We need to take into account the changes in that. Our spending has definitely increased post-COVID. I think a lot of us are wanting to make up for lost time, but it's things like we didn't go on a holiday since 2019 until last year because I had a baby, so obviously that makes going on holidays difficult. And then not long after we were coming out of the baby period, there was lockdowns. So there were no holidays, no one was going on a holiday at that point, and we didn't go on one until 2023. That is the first time we've been on a proper abroad family holiday. But what I realised is we have no plan or funding for where we're going to get the money for a family holiday, and they're not cheap these days. There's certainly the cost of them has definitely risen. So I needed to factor that in. I've added a £250 regular savings, which will be a holiday sinking fund. I'm going to have to talk about all these different terms in a different video, because if we start talking about sinking funds and what they are, it'll just blow your mind, and this will end up being like a 3-hour video. So basically what I'm saying is I've added £250 as a regular savings amount for holidays, so that we've got that money there when it comes around to holiday time. And it's not like, oh my gosh, we need X amount of money and we don't have it. What are we going to do? We can't go on holiday, or we need to take money from our emergency fund. And a holiday is not an emergency. Let's just remind ourselves of that. Well, I know it kind of feels like one sometimes, but it's not an emergency. The other thing I changed in our budget for 2024 is sinking funds for essential things. I had them last year, but basically on review of what went on last year, we need to increase them a little bit. I've only increased them by £50 a month, but that still adds up over the course of a year. So our sinking funds are £350 a month that goes into a pot, and then every time one of these events comes up, car insurance, car service, all those things, we can pay it from there. Christmas, birthdays, that sort of stuff. So those are the things that I've changed about our budget significantly for this year. Let's get into how we're going to actually budget our monthly salary for 2024 as a 2-income household earning different amounts of money. So step 1 is to estimate our income. So I like to slightly underestimate our income so that it gives us a little bit of wiggle room. So I estimate my income as $1,950 per month, and my husband's at $2,650 per month, and that gives us a total of $4,600 per month. So that's where we're starting from. That's what we're working with. That is the pot of money from which everything else has to come. Step 2 is our fixed expenses. So our fixed expenses are basically our bills and things that we have to pay. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things in there that we do not absolutely have to have, like Netflix or YouTube Premium. Those are our subscriptions. And I do keep an eye on those things. I have a bit of a traffic light system. Again, I could talk about that. If you want me to, let me know. But they're fixed expenses that we're going to have to pay every month, okay? So we're talking mortgage, council tax, gas and electricity, any charity donations, subscriptions like the ones that I've just mentioned, the window cleaner. We have a cleaner that comes 2 hours a week every couple of weeks just to help me keep my head on, those sort of things. So our fixed bills, the way that we currently do it is we have a direct debits account that the majority of our fixed bills come from. It's in my husband's name. We don't have a joint account, okay? We don't have a joint account. We've never had a joint account. I have no intentions of getting a joint account. So we have a direct debit account that all of our fixed expenses come from, most of them anyways. We currently put £1,500 a month in there. That's a little bit more than we need to, and that builds up a little bit of a buffer, which is really helpful. Honestly, you'll notice that throughout my budget, I under or overestimate things in a lot of places, because what happens is I end up having these little tiny amounts just adding up and just adding up and just adding up. And then when we have some sort of unexpected cost, there's a little pot of money somewhere that I can use for that little unexpected cost. It's amazing. We put £1,500 into a direct debits account, and that is for the majority of our bills. Then my husband also has about just under £70 worth of other bills and things that come out of his normal bank account. And I have like £10 for my phone, for example. We also have childcare costs. So our childcare costs are 4 days a week for the baby. He's not actually a baby anymore, he's a toddler, but like, I don't want to stop calling him a baby, he's my baby. He's still a baby, he's still tiny. Anyways, 4 days a week for the baby, and then wraparound care for my daughter. Again, I will overestimate these and I will put them into a separate account that earns interest. And basically part of the reason why I overestimate our childcare costs is because throughout the year, sometimes you'll get like a rate increase, and if I overestimate them, then I've kind of started building up a little pot to deal with that change. And also with my daughter, she's in wraparound care most of the time, which is relatively inexpensive as far as childcare goes. But then in summer or holiday club, it's going to then all of a sudden be like, bam, the costs have gone way up. So it helps me to deal with those kind of seasonal childcare costs without just having to find it all when it comes up. So I put the money into a separate account which earns interest, and then I'll move it over to the tax-free childcare account. Our childcare estimations and what I put away for childcare each month at the moment is £1,137. £1,137. It's more than our mortgage. It's more than our mortgage. Isn't that absolutely crazy? You can see why some people literally can't afford to work because of the cost of childcare. Childcare is something I could talk about forever. I've already done a video about 15 hours, 30 hours and what's happening, and I will do more videos about support with childcare, help with childcare and the different schemes available. So you can check that video out, and also let me know what you want to see a video about on that sort of topic. Anyways, all that to say that our fixed expenses in terms of bills and our childcare combined, remember the childcare is £1,137. You're not going to forget that, are you? That comes to £2,700, just over £2,700. That probably sounds like a lot of money if you don't have childcare costs, but remember, it was £1,137. I'll stop saying that now. So we've done our fixed expenses. We know how much that is. Step 2 is a variable budget. This is money that we need to live off, okay? The money that we need to live off. So I have, you could have as many categories as you want. I find if I overcomplicate things, it breaks my brain. So I have 4 categories, and my 4 categories are food, miscellaneous, petrol, and fun. I have a fun budget. I need a fun budget. We all need a fun budget. If you can afford one, you need a fun budget. The amount of money that I allocate to each of those is food at the moment, £400. I know you're going to message me and say, how do I keep my food budget at £400? The answer is I don't, but I am going to. That is the plan. That is how much I want to be spending on food. I think it's doable. I think it'll be tight, but I think it's doable. But that's the plan. And bear in mind that my baby eats 4 days a week at nursery for lunch and dinner. And my daughter also eats at breakfast club sometimes, although we do give her breakfast here as well to make sure she's not hungry, because she can be a fussy eater. And she also eats like a sort of a light tea at her after school club 3 days a week. So there are some sort of meals that we don't have to pay for out of our food budget because they're already paid for within our childcare budget, if that makes sense. But that's the big goal, £400 a month for a family of 4. So if you've got any tips about that, do drop them in the comments because I need them. And then petrol, £250. I'm honestly not really sure if that's realistic these days. It might be too much. It might be not enough. I don't know. I need to review how much we spent on petrol last month to see how far I am off this. Again, it's because our lifestyles are changing. So I wasn't at work, but now I am at work. So obviously I'm driving to and from work. You know, different things going on with the kids. The way we travel has changed, so I need to review how much we spend to see whether or not that amount of money is the right amount of money to be allocating to petrol, but that's what I've allocated for now. 225 for fun and miscellaneous. So fun will be things like going to the coffee shop, which if you follow me on Instagram, you know I do a lot. Somebody had a go at me about being in the coffee shop, which was rather rude, but yeah, so going to the coffee shop, I take my daughter for a little Friday McDonald's as a little treat, like a little bit of mummy-daughter time. So that sort of thing, like fun, things that we don't need to be spending, but but we have. If we get a rare takeaway, that would come out of the fun budget, not the food budget, because it's not necessary. It's not like essential food, so I wouldn't take it out of the food budget. It's something we've chosen to do that's discretionary, so I'd take it out of the fun budget. Hope that's not blowing your mind too much. You can make up your own rules for these though. And then miscellaneous is anything that would come up, like, I don't know, kids need new shoes, we bought some random thing on Amazon, those kind of expenses basically. That's what the miscellaneous budget is for. So step 3 is sinking funds, and I'm going to talk about both of my sinking funds, which is my essential sinking fund, that was all the car maintenance and all that sort of stuff, and then my discretionary sinking fund, which is for holidays, which is £250. So I've got £350 for sinking funds, my essential ones, and £250 for holidays, so that comes to a total of £600. So sinking funds in very short terms are money that you put away each month to help you pay for things that come up like once a year, like Christmas. It's coming every year. Christmas is coming, people. It's coming. You need to be thinking about this right now. Christmas is coming, okay? Christmas is coming. And when Christmas comes around, you don't want to be like, how am I going to pay for this? Okay, so we know Christmas is coming. So we plan throughout the year to save money so that when we get to Christmas, we have the money there. And essentially that's what sinking funds are, but for all kinds of things. So personally, I pay everything to do with my car comes out of my sinking funds. So car insurance, car tax, car maintenance, house insurance, the boiler service, these kind of things that previously would have had me scrabbling around for money. But now using sinking funds, honestly, game changer, absolute game changer. If there's one thing you take from this video, take sinking funds. It has changed my life when it comes to money, because I used to like get a car service would come around and it'd be a couple of £100 and I'd be like, oh my God, I need to find a couple of £100 to pay for this car service. That is just not an issue anymore because of sinking funds. Yeah, again, let me know if you want to know more about this, because I could talk forever about sinking funds because they are the one. Everything you have left after your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, your sinking funds, after that, it would be financial goals. So whether that's saving, whether it's paying off debts, whether it's saving for a house, whether it's saving for a baby or maternity leave, those kind of things, that would be where your financial goals will come in. So whatever money you had left, that is what you would do. However, to supplement my income, having gone part-time at work, I have a side business, and that is where I plan to pay for my financial goals from. So instead of taking it from my normal pay, because my normal pay is reduced, I'll be taking it from a business income. So our financial goal, as I've mentioned, is to overpay our mortgage. And basically that is where, if I don't make money from that, we won't be contributing to our financial goals. So let's hope I make some money for you. When you go through your budget, fixed expenses, variable expenses, sinking funds, then financial goals. So after all of that, it leaves us with a buffer from our salaries of about £150 to £175, maybe a little bit more, depending on how we get paid. And that money can either be saved, it can be used if we go over budget in one of the categories, but that's our little buffer. So essentially, that is how we're going to budget our family income as a household for 2024. I feel like taking all the money, putting it into one pot and distributing it from there is the absolute easiest way to deal with differing incomes. How simple was that? You get all the money, it goes in one pot, you figure out all your costs. There you go. Like miscellaneous, as I said, we've got £225. We're not precious about, oh, you've got £100 to spend and I've got £100 to spend, and oh no, you've spent £10 more than I spent. No. If someone needs to buy something, it comes out of that budget. That's just how it is. Because we budget as a team, which is what we are. I get those households where someone is earning a lot more than the other person. And if you're not married or you don't have kids or you've not got a house together, I can kind of see, protect your own. By all means, do it, especially if you're the female in the relationship. Protect your money, build up your own savings. You don't know what's going to happen with that relationship. Once you get into the stage of you've got married, I feel like you've kind of gone too far down the road anyway, because, if it all goes wrong, unless you've got a prenup, which, think about that, girls, if you're high earners, unless you've got a prenup, it's all going to get split up in the end anyway. If you're a couple that has had children together and one of you is now earning less, specifically due to the fact that you're looking after the children, childcare reasons, childcare costs, or you're on maternity leave or maternity pay, and that is why you have less money, I just don't believe that you should be asking to be paid by your partner and, you know, having to ask for things. I just don't believe in it. Yeah, you made a kid together. You should be managing your finances together when it comes to the person who is impacted by having children. Only one of you is likely to be impacted by the financial cost of having a child. And we know who that's most likely to be. Not in all cases, but most likely. And yeah, I just feel like if you're trying to manage your finances separately when one of you is on a significantly lower income due to the impact of having children, I just don't believe it's the way to do it. That's my personal opinion. I'd love to know your opinions. Do drop them in the comments and let me know. If you've got another system that works for you, I would be like really interested to hear about it, genuinely. And whatever works for you, this is just my opinion. That's all. It's just my opinion. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed hearing me waffle on about money for however long that's been. I am Lee from Mortgage Free Lee. I talk about money and mum life on the internet. I would love it if you would drop me something in the comments, ask me a question, let me know how you budget, press the like button, press the subscribe button, and it will bring you back for more videos like this. I do mum vlogs, I do money chat, and I would love to see you on the next one.